So let's get something interactive. And the way we're going to do it, starting off, is we're going to use these system variables, mouse x and mouse y. System variable, that's the term that we were just talking about when we put in the variables width and height into some of our shapes. So system variable, again, that's like a keyword. You can use it, and processing knows what to do with it, such as mouse x and mouse y. It knows that means get the coordinates from the x and the y location of my mouse. And remember how this works? We talked before, a couple of weeks ago, about print ln, which you say is print line, mouse x and mouse y. And so if I press play, and I move my mouse around, I move this over, you can see down here in the console, it is giving me the coordinates. So what if we put mouse x and mouse y into our shapes as the coordinates in our shapes? So we're going to do this a little bit more in the next class, but today I want to start off with just simply making like a pen tool. So to do that, I am going to use a line. And for my first x and y, remember a line is simply two x and y points, I'm going to put mouse x and mouse y. And for my second x and y, I'm also going to put mouse x and mouse y. And let's see what we get. I'll press play, move the mouse around, and I'm getting some tiny little dots here. All right, let's increase our stroke weight. I'll put that at 5. Let's see if we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so now you can see I am drawing. Cool. Welcome to your first interaction. You can draw. But it kind of looks like a dot more than anything else. And that makes sense, right? Because I am, for both ends of the line, I'm using the same point. It's mouse X and mouse Y, which kind of makes it look like a point. Now you can have fun doing this. Try not to get too distracted. Okay, so it's a very simple thing that we're going to do next, although it may seem a little bit odd. But instead of having our coordinates at mouse X and mouse Y, which are the exact same, I am going to have one set. It can really be either the first set or the second set. Go from, actually, I'm going to do the second set. P mouse X, P mouse Y. And I'll explain what this means in a second, but let's press play. And yes, now I have a continuous line. That's so cool. And yep, okay, I can just draw whatever I want. So it's a continuous line. So what's happening here is as it's drawing, it starts out at wherever my mouse is, mouse X, mouse Y, and then the second coordinates are, the P stands for past. It's wherever my mouse X was and my mouse Y was. So it draws from where it is now to where it was, which just simply creates the effect, let's just take that P away again, of filling in that space. When I didn't have the mouse X and mouse Y, it was like dots. So I put that P there, and it does it from its current spot to its past spot, which is kind of cool. Okay, but we can get even cooler. Yeah, I know, this is fun. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we can adjust the stroke weight based on the speed of the mouse. Now that's kind of cool. This is a little formula that it doesn't really matter, I hate to say this, how thoroughly you understand it. It's one of these little algorithms. It's a formula. More than anything, I want you just to be able to know when you can use it. Move this processing sketch aside so you can get to the PowerPoint here. So basically, we're figuring out the absolute value of the speed of our mouse on the x-axis. And processing does that by using the ABS. I think I have Daniel Schiffman's page open here. So we can gather the absolute value of a number by placing it inside the ABS function right over here. And that formula, ABS, mouse x minus where the mouse had been, P mouse x, tells us the speed. and we can use that speed, that number that is calculated by how quickly it went from here to here. We can take that number and plop it in to the stroke weight. All right, so we're looking to see how quickly, that's how this number will change. How fast did we get from where we are to where we were, right? So if you go very fast, then you're going to get a different number than if you go very, very slowly, right? That would be a smaller number. If I go very fast, it's going to be a bigger number. And so with a bigger number, I'm going to get essentially, because it's a bigger number in my stroke weight, a thicker stroke weight. Let's just put this in and see if this will make any sense. Okay, here, my stroke weight. So I'm going to just do this little formula. So it is ABS, and then in parentheses, P mouse X, think of that as where my mouse was, minus where my mouse is now. And I need that double, sorry, mouse X. I need that double parenthesis at the end. And that should say ABS, not ABDS. Okay. So you guys should get this code in, and now this is the result you should get. Okay, so if I move my mouse very slowly, I'm getting a thin stroke weight. If I move it faster, I get a thicker stroke weight. It's figuring out the speed of my mouse, and it's using that number in my stroke weight. So I'll go moderately, and you can see it gets thicker. But it gets very thick very easily. So let's take this whole formula. So let's say it gives me a number of 20, right? When I go very fast, it calculates out this formula, a number of 20. That's a stroke weight of 20. That's a bit much. So what I could do to bring that number down is I could divide it by 5, for example. So imagine I go very fast. This formula comes up with the number 20, and I take that number 20 and I divide it by 5. So now I have a number of 4. So if I go very fast, my stroke weight is at 4. So I'm going to go very slowly. Now I have a very thin line, and then I go faster, and so this is a smaller stroke weight. So I can get a little bit more of a variation. Now you guys are probably wondering, why is it every time I press play, I get this line starting here from the top? Well, eventually we're going to get to these things will only draw when we press the mouse, and that won't happen anymore. But until we get to that, because we are using mouse X and mouse Y, as soon as you open the sketch, processing wants you to input a number, right? It needs a number for mouse X and mouse Y based on our coordinates. And because we're not fast enough, it just inputs the number at 0, 0. So that's why when you just open up the sketch, and even if you're incredibly fast, I tried to be fast and I threw everything off the screen, it still is faster than you, and it puts in the number 0, 0. Okay? All right, so what's the next step for you is, as homework, to continue with this, but when you are moving the mouse around, so I've pretty much given you all of the code, when you're moving the mouse around, I want the stroke to have different colors based on my mouse location. This has nothing to do with random. So it could be that when I'm over here, I'm getting some range of blues, and I'm here, I'm getting some reds, something like that. The numbers are going to be connected to my mouse position. That's as much of a hint as I'm going to give you, okay? Nothing to do with random. But so when I press play, you will be able to get different colors as you're painting around. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to edit it out, and then I'll show you the end result of what I'm looking for. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. As I'm going around, I'm getting some different range of colors, and it's connected with my mouse position. So I'm up here and I'm getting these yellows, and over here I'm getting greens, and down here blues, and over here kind of very, very pale. Oh, I go all the way into the corner and I get some like light pinks. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to figure out on your own.